Time to rank Rankin Bass. That's right, today I'm ranking the 3 Rankin Bass Easter specials. Now, of course, everyone knows Arthur Rankin Jr. and Jules Bass for their Christmas specials, like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman. But every now and then, the producer/director team would try their hand at an Easter special, and today I want to look at those 3 efforts. Before I do, please subscribe to my channel. Also follow me on Twitter, link in the description. I promise to deliver content that I think you'll hopefully find enjoyable. That said, let's get started. In third place is The First Easter Rabbit. Now, like all films on this list, The First Easter Rabbit was directed by Rankin and Bass, but it was written by Julian P. Gardner. Don't let that name fool you. Julian P. Gardner was actually a pseudonym for Jules Bass. Airing on NBC in 1976, The First Easter Rabbit is a very loose retelling of the Velveteen Rabbit and was traditionally animated like Frosty the Snowman. Burl Ives narrates this short film as the rabbit GB, reuniting him with Rankin and Bass after Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer 12 years earlier. In The First Easter Rabbit, a little girl named Glinda comes down with scarlet fever. Hence, her mom has to burn all of her clothes and toys, including her favorite doll, a plush rabbit named Stuffy. But a sprite rescues Stuffy, turns him into a real rabbit, and gives him the powers of the Easter Bunny. If that were the core, the main focus of this TV special, I think I would have loved it. But then Stuffy befriends 3 somewhat shady rabbits, and there's a winter villain who wants to turn Easter Valley cold, and I just started to lose interest. When the film loses its initial focus, it loses its heart. Now, unlike the other 2 specials on this list, The First Easter Rabbit feels like a Christmas special. A lot of it is set during winter, plus it features appearances by Santa and Rudolph. No, not those versions, unfortunately. Although I guess this Santa, voiced by Paul Frees, might technically be the one that appeared in Frosty the Snowman. As for the voice acting, Burl Ives is reliable as always in The First Easter Rabbit. Robert Morse gives Stuffy a meek voice, which is okay for that character, but there's a part at the end of the film where Stuffy's voice seems to change, as if somebody is impersonating Morse, or Morse himself was trying to impersonate his performance from earlier. I don't know, maybe they had to go back and redo something. And I don't mean to be mean, but the girl voicing Glinda gives one of the flattest, most monotone vocal performances I've ever heard. And again, I'm not trying to be mean. That's why I'm not even naming the actress, but it's hard to feel for her character when she is so clearly acting it. It truly sounds as if she's reading the script for the first time. Meanwhile, the villain Zero, who wants to freeze Easter Valley, feels disconnected from most of the plot. He finally introduces himself to Stuffy at the end of the special, and he comes out and he's like, "It was me causing all this bad stuff." And Stuffy is like, "Oh, okay." And then Zero was like, "Well, gotta go, bye." And that's it. That's the big confrontation. And the special ends with the twist about the Burl Ives narrator that will make you go, huh? Instead of, huh. The First Easter Rabbit feels like when you have a great pitch or you're making up a story and then someone says, "Well, then what happened?" So you're like, and you start making up random stuff to pad it out because you really have no clue where this thing is going. And then this happened, and then this happened. It feels like a rough draft, like they were making it up on the spot. The heart and soul of the special is its story about a little girl battling an illness whose best friend is an old stuffed rabbit. The story starts strong, and it also recaptures the magic for a fleeting second at the end when Stuffy reunites with Glinda and starts singing to her. But overall, The First Easter Rabbit is my least favorite Easter effort from Rankin Bass Productions. I give it 1.5 out of 4 stars. At number 2, we have The Easter Bunny Is Comin to Town. Now, this 1977 stop-motion special served as a semi-sequel to Santa Claus Is Coming to Town. It was the last of Rankin Bass's Easter specials. In the special, S.D. Kluger from Santa Claus Is Coming to Town, and once again voiced by Fred Astaire, tells how the residents of Kidville, or a town whose residents are all children, raised an orphan bunny who becomes the Easter Bunny. And from there we see how most Easter traditions began. And I have to say, this special has creative explanations for literally almost every Easter tradition. You can tell Rankin Bass and writer Romeo Muller made a list and carefully plotted which traditions to cover. Everything from chocolate bunnies to jelly beans to even Easter Sunday outfits. Of course, this is yet another time in which Rankin and Bass presented a backstory to Easter, and part of me wishes they had established one continuity for their holiday universe, but I digress. That may just be 2022 talking. I was surprised how religious the Easter Bunny Is Coming to Town is. For instance, the special references people who worship on Easter, and the chickens who produce the first Easter eggs sing a song about which came first, the chicken or the egg. And the answer, of course, is the chicken, because the chicken was on Noah's Ark. It's alright. There's also a character, a bum named Hallelujah Jones, and I have to say, at first I found the character a little creepy when he says he's going to go live in Kidville. There's just something that seems a little bit weird about that, although I know it's just a harmless line for a special in 1977. Speaking of things that were intended as harmless but probably don't come across great nowadays, there's also a song encouraging kids to try things for the first time that I wasn't crazy about. It's a good moral for adults, but telling kids to just try whatever because somebody has to be the first is how kids end up drinking liquid soap. Likewise, the Easter Bunny Coming to Town teaches kids that all you have to do is be nice for someone to be nice to you. If only life was that way. It's a nice bit of escapism, but it's a lesson that unfortunately does not mirror real life. Something worth noting, the plot centers on a kingdom ruled by a boy with a strong New York accent for some reason, and everyone in the kingdom is miserable because if you break just one of the rules, you get thrown out of the kingdom. It seems to me like being kicked out of that place would be a gift, not a punishment, so I don't know why more people don't try to get kicked out. But seeing how the Easter Bunny works in this kingdom, or begins in this kingdom, is fascinating. Meanwhile, there's a child audience in the special. Literally kids ask the narrator questions and sometimes even react to events on screen with the Easter Bunny interacting with them. And it feels almost like Rankin and Bass by way of Blue's Clues, but it's not too distracting. The songs are okay, nothing too memorable, but they get the job done. As for the stop-motion animation, or animagic as Rankin and Bass Productions called it, it's very polished here. Again, this special was released in 1977, toward the end of Rankin and Bass's stop-motion filmography. So by this point, the animation, at least in this case, was starting to look less jerky, for lack of a better word, like Rudolph, and smoother, like The Nightmare Before Christmas. It also feels different, but nice, to see the Rankin and Bass style predominantly set during springtime. There's more greenery, less winter here. Overall, The Easter Bunny Is Coming to Town is a decent holiday effort from Rankin and Bass, with polished animation and an interesting story. Some might view it as a B effort, but for young Rankin and Bass fans, it is worth their time. I give it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Lastly, at number 1, we have Here Comes Peter Cottontail. Right from the get-go, this special knows how to get your attention. Narrator Danny Kaye informs us that this special is not about how the main character became the legend we all know and love. Instead, he says this special is about how Peter almost lost the job. And then immediately we meet our villain, January Q. Irontail, voiced by Vincent Price, who is having an absolute ball with this role. Price steals the show. Romeo Mueller wrote The Easter Bunny Is Coming to Town, and he covers similar territory here. I think where the specials differentiate most is that Easter Bunny Is Coming to Town aims to inform, whereas Here Comes Peter Cottontail is just here to entertain. In Here Comes Peter Cottontail, our hero is offered the Easter Bunny role, but before he can accept it, he is challenged by Irontail. Whoever delivers the most eggs within a day wins the job. Peter gets cocky, he throws a big party, and oversleeps the next morning, while Irontail wins by delivering one single egg. Hence, Irontail takes over Easter and begins replacing chicks with tarantulas and painting eggs the color of mud and concrete and a bunch of other stuff that's chuckle-worthy. Meanwhile, Peter tries to get a second chance with help from a time-traveling caterpillar who takes him through all the other holidays. Now, doesn't that sound fun? This special is a hoot. When Peter tries time traveling, he ends up in every other major holiday. Admittedly, this can get a little repetitive. He goes to a holiday, something goes wrong. He goes to another holiday, something goes wrong. Lather, rinse, repeat. But to sidestep for a minute, I think my biggest complaint about Here Comes Peter Cottontail would be the scene where Peter stops everything because he wants to ice skate with another bunny, Donna. Now, it's a sweet scene, but Peter is in a race against time, and he just sets his egg basket down for anyone to grab, which someone does. But I do cut that scene a little bit of slack because the special has established Peter, while well-meaning, is not perfect, and that's okay. Casey Kasem gives an inspired performance as Peter. The songs are enjoyable enough with a heck of a musical score. Irontail might be Rankin and Bass's best villain, no kidding, right up there with Heat Miser and Snow Miser. And some of the interactions with other holiday icons are so creative, I can't help but like this special. Overall, Here Comes Peter Cottontail is, for me, Rankin and Bass's best Easter special. It's not quite up there with the best of Rankin and Bass, but it's closer than you might expect. I give it 3 out of 4 stars. So there is my ranking of the Rankin and Bass Easter specials. How many of these have you seen? What are your thoughts about them? Let me know in the comments below. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel. Until next time, this has been Josh with Movies Please. Thanks for watching.